Within Gemtocracy, there are many countries we want to be associated with, but which countries are the best? Today we're going to be doing a tier list of the countries. So let's start with Afghanistan. Afghanistan I'm gonna have to put into the F category. Afghanistan has a lot of history and there's a lot of beautiful places there, but it's also a country that's very unstable. And very much like Iran and other countries surrounding it, it has a lot of Muslims. And whilst that by itself isn't a problem, the problem is that a lot of those Muslims are Sharia Muslims, the extremists. Let's go with Albania. Albania has a very beautiful flag. It's probably one of the most beautiful flags that I know of. A red background with a black two-headed bird on it. So that combined with the beautiful nature that it has and the rich history from back when it was part of the Slavic nations. Sorry, not the Slavic nations, the Yugoslavian nations. Combined with that, I'm gonna have to put it in C tier. Algeria used to be a French colony. It's in North Africa, and basically it's just a country that's basically just a lot of resource, but there's not really anything else special about it, which means I'm gonna put it in the E tier. Andorra, one of the smallest countries in the world. It's not a city-state, but it might as well be. The capital is Andorra la Vella, and it's a beautiful capital, but it's sandwiched in between France and Spain, and it's pretty beautiful, so I'm gonna put it in A tier. Angola. Angola is one of the countries that is more known for its wildlife. But aside from that, its government isn't that great, and neither is its economy. Therefore, I'm gonna have to put it in F tier. Armenia. Armenia is a country that is sandwiched between Turkey and a bunch of other countries. What you gotta know about Armenia is that there was the Armenian genocide, which, you know, was terrible, but at the same time you have to ask yourself, why do these things happen? It also borders the country Georgia, which is where Stalin is from. Stalin, who went on to take over the Soviet Union. So this country is definitely one of the countries that is sandwiched in between a hyper-tense area, between the Arabian, Turkish, and the Slav world. So for its history I would put it in F, then for its government I'd put it in G, but then for its nature I would also put it lower, so we're gonna put it in H. Argentina. There's not much to say about Argentina except that it's a very simple country. They've had some communist tendencies which would decrease their value significantly, but nowadays they're very much more going for capitalist policies, and I think that that's a good thing. Its nature is really beautiful, there's a lot of mountains. Its government isn't that great though, so I'm gonna have to put it together with no, I'm gonna have to put it in the just right above Algeria, just by like a little. Australia. Australia was a country that was started by sending criminals over because the UK could no longer hold all the criminals. So they decided to expand. It is part of the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth. But overall Australia, its government is pretty much dictatorial and its nature is beautiful. So I would put it at around the same as Argentina. Austria, one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and it also has a rich history, and of course Hitler was from here, and you have the city of Vienna, which is known for their art. So I think we'll put that in definitely in S tier. Azerbaijan. This is another country that's bordering Georgia and that other country that we mentioned earlier that I may have forgotten. Armenia. Not much to say about it. It's pretty normal, pretty simple. I'm gonna put it in G tier. The Bahamas. Well, it's nice for a holiday spot, but there's not much going on, so I'm putting it in E tier. Bahrain. Well, it's not a very big country. There's not much to see there. Honestly, it's pretty boring. I'm gonna put it next to Azerbaijan. Bangladesh. A lot of history. Bangladesh used to be East Pakistan, and it was kind of a country split in two with India in the middle. It was created after the Islamists wanted to have some more power, so they settled for the country of Pakistan. Bangladesh eventually ended up separating after a lot of oppression from the Muslim community, and it is beautiful. It has a lot of well, it has a lot of good things, but its education is really bad because they massacred all the education. So they massacred all the intelligent people there. So we're gonna have to put it in D tier. Belarus. Belarus is a beautiful country as well, but it does have very bad infrastructure, and it's very close allies with Russia, which at the moment is pretty controversial considering the Ukraine war. But as you have to see it, Belarus is almost an extension of Russia, almost like a satellite state. It's the only country really that's really still considers themselves almost Soviet-like. So for those communist tendencies, I'm gonna have to decrease it by a lot of points, and I'm gonna have to put it right next to Armenia. Belgium. Well, it's a country that shouldn't really exist. It should be split amongst its neighbors, but at the same time, it is a very beautiful country, except for its the roads and the infrastructure. So I'm gonna have to decrease it by a few points by putting it right next to Andorra. Belize. Alright, well, Belize is not really that interesting. It's just a small country in the middle America. So we're putting it in E. Benin is a country in Africa. Goes right by Angola. It's really not that interesting. Bhutan is a country with a lot of history. It's a very small country. It's right next to Nepal, but it's not bordering Nepal. It's bordering China and India. And it's mostly been disputed as well about where the border should go. Some people say that the border shouldn't be there at all and it should all be China or it should all be India. But besides that, looking at it historically, might be a bit interesting, but there's not really anything that special, so I'm gonna put it right next to Albania here. Bolivia. Okay, so Bolivia is a country in South America. It's not very interesting. It's basically just a country that grows a lot of things and sorts a lot of resources, but aside from that, it's pretty much just boring. So I'm gonna put it right next to Belize. Okay, let's go with Brazil. So Brazil is definitely a beautiful country. Its most important historical figure was Pedro II, which was a king almost, and basically he was very great for his people. But Brazil is also where the Amazon is, and it is being cut down because of the government, which decreases its points. So I'm gonna have to put it right next to Australia, Bangladesh, and Argentina. Bosnia and Herzegovina, not that interesting honestly, but beautiful. So, and it has some history. It was also once part of the Yugoslavic nations. Botswana. Well, Botswana is very natural, but there's not that many good government things. And judging by its history or lack thereof, I'm gonna have to put it right next to Bolivia. Actually, no, we're gonna have to decrease it to that level. Brunei is a very tiny city-state in the Malaysian, on the Malaysian continent. Let's put that right about at. C. I think it's C tier. I think that's fair enough. It's pretty good, but it's not that big, and it doesn't have that much history. So, but it's pretty cool. Nonetheless, it has a good nature. Bulgaria used to be a great empire, but is now pretty small compared to what it used to be. But it has a rich history. Its economy isn't that great right now. So I think we're gonna have to put it right next to Brazil. Alright. Now there's a lot of countries still here, so I'll probably end up splitting this into two parts. So let's go with some of the most important ones first. Russia. Russia is a beautiful country with a rich history. Its current government may not be that great, and it has had a long history of communism, which decreases its point. But the fact that it's so many different ethnicities, and it's so large, and it has so much history, does give it a little bit of a leap over others. So I'm gonna say it's B tier. Alright, so the United Kingdom, very great empire once, not as great anymore. But it is pretty interesting, but it also has very bad infrastructure in certain places, so I'm gonna have to put it right next to Belgium. Now the United States, instantly I know it's gonna go right on to B. It's the same tier. It has a gerontocracy, not a democracy like people seem to think, but it's a gerontocracy, which is a country that's led by mostly old rich people. So yeah, it's not that great with food. It has a lot of different nature, and it's very beautiful for that. But at the same time, a lot of it's been killed whilst they were manifesting their destiny, which meant to spread to the west. And yeah, but overall, I think it's safe to say it suits with Russia. In that sense, Germany is probably one of the greatest countries in the world. And I think if you really look at it, the food is great. It's one of the cleanest countries in the world. It has a very rich culture, and it has a pretty easy to learn language. So I think that considering everything and how big it is and how much nature it has, and mountains and hills and water and rivers, I think it deserves SS tier. Alright. So Spain also used to be a great empire, also not that great anymore. The only reason why it's a little bit better than things like Belgium and the United Kingdom is because it has a lot more arts and a lot more artistic value, and it also has been a bigger trading hub than most of the other countries in the A tier currently. So I'm gonna go with Spain. Here, the Netherlands. This is where I'm from. Now I may be a bit biased, but I definitely would say that it's the SS or S tier. The reason why is we conquered the ocean. We literally got a province from the ocean. We have very beautiful nature. The roads are pretty okay. They're pretty good actually. They're actually better than most roads. Our culture is very friendly. At least the Dutch culture, and not so much the immigrant cultures. Some of those can be kind of rude sometimes, but that's okay, because, well, there's always going to be differences in cultures. The Dutch are pretty realistic overall, and we are pretty intelligent, so I'm going to have to put me right next to Germany. Let's do Canada. Well, Canada is, of course, a very, just a very social country, but it's also very communist at the moment. So for that I'm gonna have to put it kind of, well, its food is a little bit better than the United States. So I'm gonna have to put it right next to the United Kingdom. Denmark. Denmark is definitely SS tier. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It's one of the most clean countries as well. And it kind of goes along the same culture as the Netherlands and Germany do. And it's just overall one of the most beautiful countries, not to mention it connects to the Nordic countries. China. Oh, China is so communist, and its food is not that great. Chinese food is better in other countries than in China itself. So it's definitely below the United States and Russia. It is very economic though, so I think it would be fair to put it right next to, let's say, combined with its nature, yeah, let's put it there. I think it's fair enough to say sea level. Egypt. Well, but despite its huge Muslim population, it is one of the most beautiful countries, one of the most historical countries, and one of the most righteous countries that ever existed. Combined with its trade, and it's just one of the most beautiful countries in the world, so I'm gonna put it in S tier. Greece. Oh, Greece is definitely in the S tier. Greece is one of the best countries with history, food, and all its different just styles. It's so beautiful. The architecture is amazing. Japan. Japan is kind of along the same lines as I would say the United States and Russia. It's so bad that it has anime and hentai and stuff like that, but the good parts are the history and the nature and the respectful culture. So I'm putting it along the same lines as the United States and Russia. France. France is definitely SS tier. It is just supreme. It has so much history. It's known to have conquered, just like Germany, it has conquered most of Europe at one point. It's so amazing. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Israel. Well, the country is very much split because of the Palestine-Israel conflict, where apparently the Muslims think that if you lose a war, you can still claim the land is yours, but that's not how it works. They lost the war, the Ottoman Empire fell apart. That's what the Ottoman Empire was also in World War I. They supported Germany in the First World War, and well, Germany and, of course, Austria-Hungary after the Serbian conflict, where they had a conflict with Serbia. So basically what I'm saying is, Israel as a country with its history is beautiful, but there is a lot of bloodshed. So I'm gonna have to put it in the same tier as Russia, United States, Japan, Norway. Norway is definitely a good clean country, and it's a lot better than most of the Nordic countries. Like, I think only Denmark really trumps it in its Nordic country state. Norway is definitely one of the best countries. I would even say it's right on the S tier. Italy. Well, it used to be a great empire, and maybe someday it will be again. But it's a very beautiful country, and I definitely think it deserves the SS tier for its food, for its culture, for its history, for its current government. There is a lot of crime in it though, but I don't think it's worth it to decrease its worth just for that fact. So I'm gonna put it right up on the SS tier. Turkey. Well, Turkey is definitely militarily the same as Israel, Japan, United States and Russia, like with its worth. Its culture is a lot better than Israeli, United States and Russia's, but it might be a bit less cultured than Japan. Its current government is very fascist, but also it is just like Russia, something with a lot of different ethnicities, so just for that I would have to put it up again a little bit. And they have been trying to calm down a little bit. So I'm gonna say that considering its power, its wealth and its worth, I'm gonna say it's definitely B tier. Iceland. It's a pretty insignificant country when you think about it. There's not really much happening there. But it has recently gotten more islands, and it will get more islands, and there is actually danger with the volcano that might burst around the capital city of Reykjavik. So I think we're gonna have to definitely put it in the S tier. Iraq, a country that's always been going through wars, but honestly it's one of the better countries out there, so I'm gonna put it right next to Bolivia here. It's better than Afghanistan, definitely. Indonesia. Now, I have some Indonesian in my family, but really when I look at the culture and, you know, the nature is beautiful, it's very diverse, but really the government isn't that great. It's very Islamic, it's very suppressive, oppressive, and the language is pretty easy to learn, Indonesian, selamat makan, but like it's just a little bit too much for me, so I'm gonna have to put it kind of in the yeah, let's put it in the in this tier. Seems fair. Eritrea, well, that's not really a country you want to live in. It's actually one of the worst countries in the world, because it's very militaristic, and they actually forced people to go into the military there, because they were trying to fight the Ethiopians for their own independence, but that meant that everyone is still permanently drafted, so they permanently have to be in the army. And there's a lot of people who escape from this country. Like, a lot of people think that only war can make people into refugees, but there's also something called political refugees, which means people who are under oppression wanting to escape their country. And I think that we need to be able to see if we have the space for them, and if we do, then we can take them in and convert them to our cultures. But if they don't want to convert, then we can't accept them. And also, yeah, just in general, we need to have the resources to do so. One big mistake that a lot of European countries make nowadays is that they allow immigration when they don't have the space or don't have the resources to do it, and then even those people have to like sleep outside in the rain or something. That's how bad it gets. Saudi Arabia, one of the most historical countries, and I believe in a Saudi Islamic Empire, so I'm gonna have to put it right up to here. Alright, we're only gonna do a few more countries. We're not gonna do all of them, because some of them I feel are even insignificant in that sense. The ones we're gonna do are Portugal, Poland, and then we'll see. So Portugal is definitely a good country. It goes right there with Spain. Poland has been destroyed 3 times, like completely just taken over and came back. That's a fucking masterpiece. Just letting you know, like that's gotta be a masterpiece. I mean, think about that. A country that dies 3 times, civilizations that just get exterminated and then just come back. It's amazing. Okay, New Zealand. New Zealand, it's not that great, but it is something that just kind of exists. So I'm gonna have to put it right. I'm gonna stay away from Ukraine and Palestine for now, just because I want the last one to end on a more peaceful note. I guess since we've already done so many countries surrounding India, that would only be fair to do India as well. Alright. So India is definitely in the same range militarily as all of these. Its culture is slightly more interesting. And it's a lot more free than some other Muslim countries, so it definitely goes into the A tier. Okay, you know what? Let's do one more. Just one final one to pop it off. Maybe something a little bit less big. Something like just something just lighthearted, you know? How about no, let's not do that one. Something here, Singapore. That seems pretty small and calm. Singapore has a very good economy, it's very developed, and it's become a trading hub for every country around it. And it's a city-state, and it's beautiful, and I'm gonna put it in the SS tier for that. So, there you have it, fellas. This is my current list. If you want to see me do the other countries as well, I'm probably not gonna be doing them like this, but I might do a different style video for that. But yeah, if you agree with my list, let me know. If you don't agree with my list, also let me know and tell me what you think I got wrong. Also, if you do disagree with me, you are wrong, and let's talk about it and let's try to educate you, because honestly, this is just the way it is. Because I'm always right, except for when I'm wrong. And I'm not wrong because I'm always right, except for when I'm wrong. And I'm not wrong because I'm always right. So take care, leave a like on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next